What is up guys, my name is Chase and it has been 10 years since Nintendo released the Wii U. This was Nintendo's home console in the 8th generation of video game systems, competing against the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. I hold the Wii U very near and dear to my heart because it was the first video game console that began my full nerd evolution. I mean, look at me now. I made a video going over my general thoughts on the Wii U before, but now I wanted to get into the nitty-gritty of the Wii U generation. So here is my Wii U experience. In 2011, there was so much hype going around about Nintendo's next console following the massive success of the Wii. Nintendo is well known for their wacky ideas for video games, from the dual screens on the DS to the motion controls on the Wii. So it only made sense that when the Wii 2 was being rumored, the hot new feature would be a tablet controller. Nintendo's E3 2011 presentation was a pivotal moment in my life, because it truly solidified myself as the monster that I am today. No, in all seriousness, the hype of Nintendo's next console being introduced at E3 2011 is actually what got me interested in the video game culture. Like, sure, I had played video games all my life, but now I'm waking up way too early in the morning to watch a video about Mario. Anyway, Nintendo at E3 2011 started out with some smaller things, like Skyward Sword on the Wii, new 3DS games such as Mario Kart and Super Mario 3D Land, but we were all on the edge of our seats waiting for Nintendo's new system. Then Reggie starts getting serious and reveals the name of the new system.
Welcome to the world of Wii U.
I don't know, we could go on and on about the name of the Wii U. For right now, all I'm gonna say is that I have this theory that Nintendo became a bit cocky with the fact that the Wii did as well as it did. The fact that everybody and their mother had a Wii in their house probably made Nintendo say, well, if we slap the Wii name on our next console, of course it'll do well. Anyway, we watch a short little video revealing that the Wii U includes a giant controller with a screen on it. While we didn't get a clear look at the console itself, their main focus seemed to be on this new controller. You would be able to play games on the controller itself, use motion controls with the controller, and even video call. Keep in mind that this was 2011, which was the big tablet phase. At this point, Apple had just released the second generation iPad. So the fact that Nintendo was out here trying to cram all this high-end tech into a video game controller was really interesting. After E3 2011, I was all aboard the hype train for the Wii U. If 2011 was just the teaser for the Wii U, 2012 would be the kickoff. On June 5th, 2012, Nintendo held their E3 2012 press conference. With the Wii U coming out soon, there was still a lot of info that we didn't know about. While we didn't hear about info such as the price or release date just yet, we did learn some interesting little tidbits. The main thing that stuck out to me was this super duper cool looking black model. But we also saw a new finalized version of the Wii U controller, now officially known as the gamepad. We learned that the Wii U would support more than one gamepad, which would be sold separately. 10 years later, and I'm still waiting for that. And we saw a total of 23 games coming to the Wii U. Some of the main takeaways from the game selection was a new Pikmin game, a new Mario game, and a new minigame collection called Nintendo Land. This was also the beginning of Nintendo's silly phase, where they actually started reacting to internet memes.
Yes, my body was ready.
Overall, I thought this was a nice presentation that showed us a lot of what would eventually be coming to the Wii U. Later on in the year, specifically September 13th, 2012, Nintendo held a special Wii U preview presentation. I'll never forget this day because the event took place at 10 AM Eastern Time, which is 4 AM Hawaii time. And this was during my middle school procrastination phase, so I literally just stayed up all night doing my algebra homework when this started. Anyway, this was the big event we were all waiting for because we learned the substantial information about the Wii U. The Wii U would release on November 18th, 2012 in North America and would come in two different bundles. A basic set, which comes with an 8GB white Wii U coming in at $300 US, and a deluxe set costing $350 US, which comes with a 32GB black Wii U, Nintendo Land, and something called the Deluxe Digital Promotion, which would let you get points for every game you digitally downloaded. We also learned that all Wii accessories would be compatible with the Wii U, and that there wouldn't be any Wii remotes or nunchucks included because Nintendo expected you to just have some lying around. They weren't wrong. During the presentation, Nintendo also showed off some games including Nintendo Land, Lego City Undercover, and even Call of Duty made an appearance. But one thing that stuck out from this presentation was something called Nintendo TV. So Nintendo TV was basically the Xbox One's TV functions before the Xbox One. With Nintendo TV, you would be able to look up whatever show or movie you wanted, and it would give you the options of where to watch the content, whether it was on Hulu or on live television or something else. There was also some interesting supplementary content for the gamepad, like football plays during a football game. Don't get me wrong, I know just as little about football as I do about sports in general, but this was honestly a pretty cool feature. Overall, this presentation was worth losing a complete night of sleep for. It was pretty soon after the preview presentation when the day had finally arrived. Wii U release day, baby. As a hopeless little 13-year-old, my mom took me to GameStop where they only had the basic set available, and we ended up having to go to Best Buy to get a deluxe set. From what I remember, I don't think the demand for the Wii U came even close to the ridiculous times we're in now with the PS5 and Xbox Series X. In fact, I think all I had to do was put in an order for my Wii U on the Best Buy website before I left. Anyway, I got home with all my little Wii U pickups. I ended up getting the Wii U Deluxe set, a Wii U Pro controller, and new Super Mario Bros. U. I was so excited to see what the Wii U was all about, but here's what actually ended up happening. For whatever reason, my initial Wii U system update took forever. It literally wasn't even until pretty late at night when I finally got to play my Wii U. And unfortunately, this would be a sign of the things to come with my first night with the Wii U. Just navigating the Wii U operating system was noticeably slow as heck. Even something as simple as going from the system settings back to the main menu felt like I had children and watched them graduate by the time it finished. It was especially unfortunate because the Wii U operating system was quite pleasant to use. It was basically the same layout as the 3DS, with all of your games and apps laid out on the gamepad, and what Nintendo called the Wada Wada Plaza up on the TV. But anyway, how were my first games on my brand new system? The first game I popped in was Nintendo Land, which came bundled in with the Wii U Deluxe set. Nintendo Land was basically the tech demo for the Wii U, similar to Wii Sports on the Wii. It was basically a virtual amusement park with attractions based on Nintendo franchises. So you can gather up to 5 players and play as your Miis in this little Nintendo Land amusement park. There are 12 mini games or attractions that you can play through. You have the team attractions, which are 1 to 4 or 5 players, one of which includes The Legend of Zelda Battle Quest, and in this attraction you and your friends are walking through Hyrule. I think my favorite part about this mini game is the cute enemies from Zelda. Then we have the competitive attractions, which are 2 to 5 players. I think the most notable one here is called Mario Chase. That's me. In this mini game, 1 player plays as Mario on the gamepad. Meanwhile, you have 4 players playing as Toads on the TV. The Mario player has a mini-map on the gamepad which shows all of the locations of the different Toads. Meanwhile, the 4 players on the TV have to work together to find and tag Mario. And something really funny about this minigame is that it actually uses the Wii U gamepad's camera so that you can see the Mario player's face and also say hi to the government. And then finally, if you have no friends, there's also solo attractions for 1 player. I think the most well-known one is probably Takamaru's Ninja Castle. It's based on a Famicom Disk System game. Anyway, this minigame was actually shown in the Wii U reveal trailer. You swipe ninja stars from the Wii U gamepad onto the TV. It uses the Wii U gamepad's accelerometer to aim your ninja stars, which is pretty cool. Overall though, I think Nintendo Land is pretty decent for like a party game. I think most groups of friends will probably get the most mileage out of this game from the competitive attractions, so it is a bit of a bummer that all of the competitive attractions are all just kind of a spin on tag. lag. But hey, I mean, these are pretty fun mini games that actually make use of the Wii U gamepad. Honestly, Mario Chase was the game that kept me coming back to Nintendo Land even like years after. Granted, Nintendo Land is not on the level of Wii Sports in terms of tech demos, but it's a decent game that shows off what the Wii U gamepad is capable of. And if you weren't playing Nintendo Land, then you were probably playing New Super Mario Bros. U. This was exciting because it was the first time a Nintendo console launched with a Mario game since the Nintendo 64 with Super Mario 64. And considering how beloved Super Mario 64 is, this would have to be a success, right? Well, New Super Mario Bros. U was a follow-up to New Super Mario Bros. 2, which launched on the 3DS in July 2012, just 5 months earlier. It was based on this demo called Super Mario Bros. Mii, which was shown off at E3 2011 when the Wii U was first revealed. But where the heck are the Miis? Anyway, this was the first HD Mario game, and while the game does look pretty good, especially considering this was Nintendo's first HD console, it was definitely harder to appreciate the full HD resolution considering that this is a 2D Mario game. In terms of how this game used the gamepad, basically when you play the game in multiplayer mode, one player can take over the gamepad and place blocks to help or hurt players going through the level. The gamepad player can also tap enemies to immobilize them. So it's more of like a half player similar to what we've seen in Super Mario Galaxy, where the second player just catches star bits. Anyway, we have some like smaller updates with this game. There's a new power up, the Super Acorn. It lets you take a flying squirrel form, which is basically just Raccoon Mario from Mario 3, but I mean whatever, it's kinda cute, not gonna lie. And then they also introduced this interconnected map where all of the worlds are actually connected to each other. There's basically no loading going on between the worlds, which is like pretty cool. But in the end, New Super Mario Bros. U is a very safe Mario game. I know this game gets a lot of flack for being just another 2D Mario game. It doesn't really reinvent anything or, introduce anything drastic. But as your local 2D Mario fanboy, I can pretty confidently say that I actually enjoy this game. I'm the type of guy that will play any 2D Mario game that Nintendo gives us. But I mean, I can understand where people are coming from. It is a very just same old New Super Mario Bros. Game. Another exclusive Wii U launch title that Nintendo was really hyping up was called Zombie U. This was like a zombie survival horror game made by Ubisoft. And I guess this was interesting just because it was Nintendo really trying to go into like that M-rated type of game lineup. And it was pretty much everything that you would expect. Like you're running away from zombies and whatnot. You use the Wii U gamepad to like do little things in the game. I mean, on paper, it sounds really cool. But in the end, I honestly think I played this game like one time and that was it. I was not captivated by the story or the gameplay or pretty much anything. I ended up just not caring for this game at all. And what was really funny was that Ubisoft went and released this game on Xbox and PlayStation, instead just being called Zombie. So I mean, it was unfortunate that, this game just did not do very well. And then something interesting about the Wii U's launch is that there was actually quite a variety in third-party games. I feel like there are lots of different opinions on the Wii U launch titles, but I have to say that the games available for the Wii U on launch day, it was actually pretty impressive just how many different games there were, especially when you compare it to the Switch. One of the games I picked up for the Wii U on launch day was Call of Duty Black Ops 2, which is so funny to imagine that Call of Duty would be a launch title for Nintendo's newest console. I just feel like these two things do not mix. But anyway, based on what I played, I feel like Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on the Wii U was like perfectly okay. I think what they really focused on with Call of Duty on the Wii U was the local play features. They offered a bunch of different options for what can be shown on the gamepad. Of course, you can play directly on the gamepad, but also with 2 players, you could have one player playing on the TV and one player playing straight off of the gamepad. So I mean, that was pretty cool. Of course, one player is clearly at a disadvantage playing on the Wii U screen compared to an actual TV. So you give the gamepad to your annoying friend that you just want to beat in Call of Duty. Anyway, another third-party game that I picked up for the Wii U on launch day was Scribblenauts Unlimited. I honestly wasn't expecting much from this game, it just seemed like a kind of like silly kids game that I could try out. But I was pleasantly surprised with how much fun this game was. It was my first time playing a Scribblenauts game, and it felt like it fit on the Wii U really well. I look at the Scribblenauts games that are released on the Switch, and I just can't imagine playing this game without a touchscreen. So typing out the words on the gamepad and then watching it come to life on the TV, it was pretty cool. And playing through that game was just so much fun, and I was actually very surprised how much I enjoyed Scribblenauts Unlimited. And the last third-party game I got at launch was Little Inferno. This is another game that really surprised me just how much fun it is. And basically, you're sat in front of a fireplace and you just burn a bunch of stuff. And the fact that this game came out later in the year, it felt like the perfect winter game. You get all cozy sitting in front of the virtual fireplace. It's just a fun game, and I'm glad that I actually picked it up on the Wii U. Okay, so the Wii U may have had a bit of a rocky start at the tail end of 2012, but hey, there's time to bring it around in 2013. There's still a chance to really make this console a success. Well, in 2013, Nintendo did something really weird. They dedicated a year to Luigi. From now on, in every textbook, 2013 will forever go down in history as the year of Luigi. And in order to celebrate this year of Luigi, Nintendo would be releasing games that were focused on, this guy. I mean, looking back at the year of Luigi, there honestly weren't even that many things dedicated to Luigi. We got Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, but you know, that was on the 3DS. It wasn't until halfway through the year when we finally got a Luigi experience on a home console. Nintendo announced the new Super Luigi U. This was really interesting because it was one of the first times Nintendo toyed around with the idea of downloadable content. New Super Luigi U basically remixed every single level in New Super Mario Bros. U. The DLC was released on June 20th, 2013, while a physical standalone disc for New Super Luigi U was released on August 25th, 2013. Well, New Super Luigi U, while offering a new Mario experience also makes some changes to the New Super Mario Bros. U gameplay. For one thing, the characters now have Luigi's control scheme based off of Super Mario Bros. 2, where Luigi has very low traction, so he's like very slidey. However, to make up for this, Luigi is quite faster than Mario and has a higher jump. And while the gameplay might not appear as different, actually playing it, you can really notice how different Luigi's controls are compared to Mario. Speaking of which, this game also changes up the playable characters. Obviously, you have Luigi, but you also get everybody's favorite Blue Toad, Yellow Toad, and now introducing Nabbit as a playable character. For some reason, they brought him over to New Super Luigi U as a playable character, but interestingly enough, Nabbit does not take any damage from enemies, meaning that you can run through a whole gauntlet of Goombas without getting any damage. Granted, you still can lose as Nabbit if you fall off cliffs and whatnot. However, to counter that, Nabbit is unable to use any items, which can be a real pain when Nabbit accidentally takes an item from one of the other players. But with all of the items that Nabbit collects throughout the level, they are converted to 1-ups at the flagpole. Now, as I mentioned, New Super Luigi U comes with every single level from New Super Mario Bros. U, except now these levels are shorter, more difficult, and they only give you a 100-second time limit. That is because of Luigi's controls. Since Luigi is much faster and has a higher jump, obviously this will change the way that you play these levels. I actually thought this was a really cool and welcome change. After the New Super Mario Bros. Games becoming a bit repetitive and easy, it was really nice to have something like fresh and challenging. And yeah, some of these levels can be a bit challenging, especially with the Luigi controls. So overall, this was like a very interesting little package. I mean, it was really cool that they went through every single level of the original New Super Mario Bros. U game and completely changed them up to match this new playstyle. And eventually, New Super Luigi U was packaged alongside New Super Mario Bros. U, as well as being included in the New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe game on the Nintendo Switch. Quite soon after New Super Luigi U, there was another game released for the Wii U. This is Game & Wario. It was released June 23rd, 2013, and it's basically a spin-off of the WarioWare series, keyword being spin-off. I was so bummed that we weren't getting a normal WarioWare game. And looking back at it now, I think it would have made perfect sense to release a normal WarioWare game on the Wii U. I mean, the WarioWare game on the GameCube focused a lot on the GameCube and Game Boy Advance compatibility, and that gave you a somewhat dual screen experience. I mean, I wonder what else console has two screens that you can use for games. Anyway, Game & Wario actually started out as a Wii U tech demo. However, they later added a Wario theme to it. It's another one of these minigame collections. You get 16 minigames that are supposed to showcase the gamepad in one way or another. I don't know, we don't need to go through every single one of these minigames, but a few of the ones that stand out to me include Gamer, and of course we are all gamers here, so we have to check this one out. In this minigame, you play classic WarioWare micro games on the gamepad. I mean, why not just make a regular WarioWare game? But anyway, every so often your mom will randomly show up and you have to hide your game. The main thing that stuck out to me with this minigame is that it is honestly terrifying. Like, I genuinely do not like to play this game because it freaks me out so much. It's so scary, it feels like a horror game. The way your mom can just be lurking in the background or pop out of the TV, it's so terrifying. But this minigame was later turned into a Smash Bros stage, so now we can never forget. And then finally, I think the minigame I got the most mileage out of with Game & Wario was honestly Sketch. In this minigame, one player draws clues on the gamepad, and then the other players guess. That might sound familiar to you, and that is because it is basically just Pictionary. I don't know, I guess Sketch is good because it kind of like brings Pictionary into a more electronic version, where you use the gamepad to select who gave the right guess. It gathers all of your drawings into like this gallery, which is kind of funny. But overall, Game & Wario was not as fun as a traditional WarioWare game. I feel like in a lot of ways, Game & Wario was Nintendo's desperate attempt to make another version of Nintendo Land. They really wanted to show off what the Wii U could do, and then they just made a bunch of these tech demos. Because the minigames started feeling too similar and repetitive, and they just weren't in depth enough to be very fun. While I do think you could force some fun out of Game & Wario, I don't know if this would be a party game to continue coming back to. It was honestly around this time when I started to have doubts about the Wii U deep down inside. I think that since Nintendo's game output felt so dry, it really made me feel conflicted with this console. In fact, one of the controversial games for the Wii U was Rayman Legends. It was originally planned to be a Wii U exclusive released on February 26, 2013. However, Ubisoft pushed it back to September in order to release it on Xbox and PlayStation. And they went on to say that Zombie U's poor sales led to Rayman going multi-platform. So Rayman Legends finally released on September 3rd, 2013. However, now it wasn't exclusive to the Wii U. Personally, I've actually never played Rayman Origins before, so hopping into Rayman Legends was the first time I've ever played one of these Rayman 2D side-scrollers. And I think everything about this game really spoke to me. The art style is super duper awesome, the variety of characters I think is pretty interesting, and I think the coolest thing about Rayman Legends is that it includes these rhythm-based levels. Everything about these levels are so satisfying, pulling off all of the actions to the rhythm of the songs themselves are just absolute bangers, and one of the first demos for Rayman Legends included this rhythm-based level, and it completely sold me on the game. The Wii U version in particular uses a character called Murphy on the gamepad, and with Murphy on the gamepad you can do these little actions that affect the gameplay. So you can twist platforms, lift and lower different platforms, all that kind of like busy work stuff. I think in the end, it makes it interesting when you're playing by yourself, having to do all these extra actions on the gamepad. That's like a cool little mechanic to also be thinking about. But overall, I think Rayman Legends is a completely solid 2D side-scroller. I do think if they had released it on the original release date exclusively for the Wii U, it would have done way better. And it's so sad that we still have yet to see a sequel to Rayman Legends. So as we're creeping up to the 1-year anniversary of the Wii U in 2013, there was a lot of hype and speculation surrounding the Zelda tech demo that was shown during the original Wii U trailer back in 2011. Well, we were finally given a new Legend of Zelda game on the Wii U, and it was this. The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD was released on the Wii U September 20th, 2013. And I was in a very unique situation when this game was first released, because I was honestly never the biggest Legend of Zelda fan growing up. I would probably blame it on the fact that I am not very smart, so a lot of times I will struggle with puzzles in video games, so obviously The Legend of Zelda was like off the table for me. But when Nintendo first showed off Wind Waker HD in a Nintendo Direct, I was immediately drawn towards the art style. Having not played the original Wind Waker on the GameCube, it seemed like the Wind Waker HD was the perfect way for me to finally play this game. The cel-shaded graphics in HD looked really nice, and they also added some quality of life features that would make the game even more enjoyable, especially for first-time players. But not gonna lie, by 2013, I was honestly just dying for a new game on the Wii U. For me, it was either buy Wind Waker HD or just not play my Wii U. I remember that's how desperate I was for new games on the Wii U. So I picked up the physical version of The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker HD from GameStop. I ended up getting this special edition Day 1 gold cover, which I didn't even realize at the time. Anyway, my very first time playing The Wind Waker in HD, I'm not gonna lie, I ended up not playing it after about 25% of the way through. And once again, I probably blame it on the fact that I have the lowest attention span known to man. And also, I'm just not very good at puzzles. It wasn't until 2016 when I finally decided to go back to The Wind Waker HD. I marathoned my way through the game in about a week or two, and I can honestly say this was probably one of my favorite Zelda experiences to date. As I mentioned before, the graphics look really great in this HD upgrade, especially when you're sailing on the ocean. Everything just really pops in HD. And speaking of sailing, there's a new Swift Sail that allows you to sail faster on the Great Sea, which is very nice for traversing the waters. I also really like the way they incorporated the gamepad. You're able to use the gamepad for supplementary menus that would normally like take up the TV. So for example, you have your map on the gamepad, you can touch the gamepad screen and rearrange your items. I honestly really love that feature, and it makes me kind of sad that we won't ever be able to get that again. The way I usually played Wind Waker HD was using the Pro Controller and just having the gamepad on a stand and, you know, using the gamepad whenever I needed to. So overall, I thought the Wind Waker HD was just a lovely experience. Playing the game for the first time with the Wii U gamepad, it just felt like natural to play a Zelda game like this. Okay, so far the Wii U has a traditional 2D Mario game and a new Zelda remake. The only thing we're missing now is a 3D Mario game. Nice. Super Mario 3D World was released on the Wii U on November 22nd, 2013. And I think this made for a nice holiday game for the Wii U. The 5 people around the world who would be getting a Wii U for Christmas 2013 would now have this multiplayer 3D Mario game to play on Christmas Day. Although everybody and their mother was expecting a Super Mario Galaxy 3 for the Wii U, we ended up getting a sequel to the 3DS game, Super Mario 3D Land. I think the general consensus at the time was disappointment that gamers weren't getting what they want, but for me, I think I was perfectly satisfied with this game coming out. I really enjoyed Super Mario 3D Land, so getting more of that in HD on a home console felt perfectly fine to me. And actually playing the game, I was having just as much fun as I had hoped. Similar to Super Mario 3D Land, Super Mario 3D World focuses on these linear 3D levels, where you start at the beginning and try to get to the end. 3D World does introduce some new gameplay elements though. For one thing, you have clear pipes, which the developers basically said that they wanted to see what Mario looks like in the pipes. In reality, it means that there are very little loading screens in this game, and there are even some instances where you can control him while he's in the pipe, which is like kinda cool. We have some new power-ups. The Super Bell turns the characters into cats, which allows you to climb up walls and do this like lunge attack. Ooh, and there's also the double cherries, which makes a clone of the player. Plus you can even stack double cherries to have just a ridiculous amount of Marios on one screen. And speaking of controlling Mario, we have our playable characters in this game. Obviously we have Mario, but we also have Luigi, Toad, and Peach. And what's really cool is that all of these characters take their attributes from Super Mario Bros. 2. So getting a group of 4 people and playing through this game is honestly really fun. I remember the first time I played this game was at my cousin's house, and I just did not want to put this game down. I was having so much fun playing it. The Wii U gamepad is used in some instances throughout this game. Sometimes you have to touch the touchscreen to move blocks, or you have to do the most ridiculous thing ever and blow into the microphone. It's also funny to think that during the year of Luigi we have a game with Mario in the title, and even in the box art, Luigi is like hiding in the background. But hey, to make up for the lack of Year of Luigi in this game, they threw some random hidden Luigis throughout the game, which is like, it made sense during the Year of Luigi, but playing this game now, especially on the Switch version, it seems so random why there are a bunch of Luigis just hidden around. You can also unlock a Luigi-themed version of the original Mario Bros. Called Luigi Bros. By having save data from New Super Luigi U. Overall, I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed Super Mario 3D World. I feel like this was one of the first must-have games for the Wii U. Granted, it had been over 1 year in the console's lifespan, but hey, at least we finally have a good game. Well, how about let's close out 2013 with NES Remix. This game was released on the Wii U eShop on December 18th, 2013. And basically, it is a collection of NES games with new remixed challenges. The game will tell you some kind of instruction and give you a certain time limit to complete. Some of the challenges include speedrunning within a certain time limit, or defeating a certain number of enemies. You also have the remix stages, which basically combine different NES games together. For example, playing Donkey Kong as Link. I thought this was a very cute little package. I don't think this would be like a system seller. I don't know who's the one person who would buy a Wii U just for NES Remix. But hey, this was like an interesting idea. I think having these challenges in these old NES games really made it feel like these games have new meaning. I mean, who's gonna be playing regular Urban Champion just for fun? I also imagine this game would introduce NES games to some new people, which is nice. Of course, they would later go on to release NES Remix 2 and Ultimate NES Remix on the Nintendo 3DS. But that pretty much wraps up my 2013. I think for the most part, I was satisfied with my Wii U, but gosh darn it, we really needed to see more killer games for this console. Now this was a good year. Looking back at the Wii U, I think 2014 was probably the best year to be a Wii U owner. Spoiler, every game we talk about for 2014 was pretty much a home run. On February 21st, 2014, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze was finally released. This game was originally supposed to come out on Super Mario 3D World's release date, but they decided to swap the release dates, and looking back, I think it was probably a smart move just so that more families could pick up the Wii U for Christmas that year. Anyway, as someone who has never played a Donkey Kong Country game before, I was very interested in actually trying this game out. And my initial impressions? It's pretty good. Jumping into this game brand new was a bit of a shock to me. I was so used to the mindless running in the new Super Mario Bros. Games that when I finally had to use some skill, I was like... But I ended up really loving Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. The game just feels so unique and special. As the title Tropical Freeze suggests, you have this really interesting blend of both beach tropical vibes and then some snowy icy vibes. There's so much variety in the levels that I was totally not used to as a Mario fan. Like going into each level felt like a whole just story experience rather than just a linear level. The gameplay was really fun and interesting. It was a nice change of pace from what I was used to. Each level felt so inspired, and within each area, the game throws something brand new at your face. That's not to say that this game is perfect. I think one of the biggest controversies with this game is that it completely ignored the Wii U gamepad. Like you would think at the bare minimum it would show the gameplay on the gamepad or something, but no, the gamepad is literally just a black screen. So that was a bit weird, but hey, it was lovely to play through this game. And after playing this as my first Donkey Kong Country game, I was a new fan. When they re-released this game on the Switch, you bet I was there day one to get it. Oh boy, the next game on the Wii U is a big one. May 30th, 2014 was an amazing day to be a Wii U fan. We were begging Nintendo for even just a crumb of a worthy video game for the Wii U, and they finally delivered with Mario Kart 8. So it was inevitable that we would be getting a new Mario Kart for the Wii U, but man was I just not prepared for this game at all. Mario Kart 8 was the first Mario Kart game in HD, and oh my goodness did it look good. It seems so crazy to finally see a Mario Kart game in HD because it felt like we didn't even deserve graphics this good. The new tracks were so colorful and popped in HD, well except for this one. And not only that, but the completely remade classic tracks, they looked so cool in HD. Seeing all of the retro tracks from Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo completely reimagined for 3D and HD, it was so cool. Okay, so how about the actual game? No more stalling. That's a car pun. Mario Kart 8 delivers pretty much all of the mechanics you would want out of a Mario Kart game. Not only do we get all of the gimmicks introduced up to this point, including carts and bikes from Mario Kart Wii, the hang gliding and underwater driving from Mario Kart 7, but now Mario Kart went on to break the laws of physics. Mario Kart 8 introduced anti-gravity, which looking back at it now, I don't think is as big of a deal as they made it out to be. Whenever you cross over these blue strips, you go into anti-gravity mode. However, the camera still follows you, so you can't really even tell when you're in anti-gravity. The only ways you can tell are your tires will turn horizontally, and whenever you bump into other players, you get a little boost. So it's pretty cool because it does kind of force you to rethink how you play these courses. It does also mean that these tracks are just insane. You ride up the walls, you go underneath the courses and stuff. It's so cool. There are also some tweaks to the power-ups. It's not on the crazy level of power-ups from, say, Mario Kart Wii, but you do get a lot of the classic Mario Kart items, obviously mushrooms, golden mushrooms, green and red shells, but now you have the boomerang flower, the piranha plant, the crazy 8, and I think the most interesting item in Mario Kart 8, the super horn. You ever just go out driving and then all of a sudden a blue shell comes up in your butt? Well, now with the super horn, you can actually eliminate a blue shell, which is really crazy. So yeah, Mario Kart 8 does introduce quite a few changes. For the most part, all of the game modes are pretty much as you would expect. You have the Grand Prix where you just go through all of the different cups. You have Versus where you can race with CPUs or with other players. The online mode, from what I remember, I think worked pretty well. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I would even say the online on the Wii U Mario Kart 8 worked better than the Switch's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But I don't know, I might just be remembering things wrong. And then finally, we have Battle Mode. Oh god. Listen, I'm not gonna lie, I rarely play battle mode anyway, but Mario Kart 8's battle mode was notoriously bad, if anything just because they did not even include proper maps for battle mode. Instead, you just play the battle mode games on regular courses. And even though I honestly don't care much about battle mode, I think that is super duper stinky. In fact, it was so stinky that when they introduced Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, they pretty much focused all on this new and improved battle mode. This game was so close to being the perfect Mario Kart game, but then they absolutely obliterated the battle mode. But Nintendo made up for it, I think, by introducing DLC packs for Mario Kart 8. This was really crazy, at least for me, because I couldn't even grasp the fact that Mario Kart 8 could expand even more. With DLC Pack 1 coming out on November 13th, 2014, this was a crossover with The Legend of Zelda. We got new characters including Tanuki Mario, Cat Peach, and Link. We got the Egg Cup featuring Yoshi's Circuit from the GameCube, and the Triforce Cup featuring Hyrule Circuit. I mean, it's still crazy to play a Mario Kart game and then have something that is not Mario. And we even got some recognition for F-Zero. The Blue Falcon was added in this DLC pack, which is really cool. Then a little bit later, on April 23rd, 2015, we got DLC Pack 2, this time being a crossover with Animal Crossing. This time, our new characters included Isabelle, Dry Bowser, and Villager. We had the Bell Cup featuring Neo Bowser City from Mario Kart 7, and the Crossing Cup featuring everybody's favorite Baby Park, and a new Animal Crossing course. And after all of this was said and done, I feel like Mario Kart 8 was one of the most definitive games for the Wii U. Between the amazing graphics, all of the really cool new and returning courses, but now with these DLC packs, there was so much with Mario Kart 8, like I think it was just insane. I was so happy to keep going back to this game. But none of this mattered because after 3 years of waiting, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U was finally released on November 21st, 2014. During E3 2011, Satoru Iwata mentioned that a Super Smash Bros. Game would be coming to both the 3DS and the Wii U.
Smash Brothers will be developed for Nintendo 3DS and for Wii U, and that the software will work together in some fashion.
And I think that was Nintendo crying out, please, please give our console a chance. And although it took some years, it finally came true. Now it is important to note that this fourth Super Smash Bros. Game was a dual release. You had Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS launching October 3rd, 2014, and then Super Smash Bros. For Wii U launching November 21st. Personally, I think the whole dual release thing did more harm than good. I mean, for one thing, putting Smash Bros. On the 3DS, people were absolutely murdering their circle pads. But also it did mean that people kind of like spoiled their first experiences for Smash Bros. With the 3DS version before the Wii U version came out, and there wasn't even that much compatibility between the two versions of the game. One one of the only things those two games interacted was that you could use your 3DS as a controller for the Wii U version. Whoop-de-doo. Anyway, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, what else needs to be said? In my opinion, from Brawl to this game, it's one of the craziest improvements we've seen. Obviously, Brawl does have a lot of controversy surrounding the actual gameplay, and it felt like Smash Bros. For Wii U was kind of a return to form in some ways. Actually, speaking of Smash Bros. Brawl, I think one of the biggest travesties with Smash Bros. For Wii U is that there is no proper single-player mode. I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely loved the Subspace Emissary in Smash Bros. Brawl. However, after Brawl, Smash Bros. For Wii U did not have a single player mode because people were uploading the cutscenes to YouTube, which is really sad that that is the reason we didn't get a single player mode. Well, they kind of made up for it by making these insane trailers for every character reveal. It was so fun to see who was going to be the next character introduced for Smash Bros. For Wii U. Watching the original Mega Man reveal still gives me the chills. And speaking of which, Super Smash Bros. For Wii U I think has a pretty nice character roster. Obviously now with Smash Bros. Ultimate, I mean, you can't even really compare these character rosters, but at the time it did feel like Smash Bros. For Wii U had a very just solid lineup of characters. They did unfortunately have to scrap some of the previous characters, but with the really interesting new characters introduced, I thought it was a perfect balance. But Smash Bros. For Wii U plays really well, it looks really great in HD. It was a huge surprise to learn that Smash Bros. For Wii U would support GameCube controllers, and that Nintendo themselves would be releasing brand new GameCube controllers. It felt like I was finally heard in my life. Gosh, there is a lot to say about this game. There's a lot packed into it. The online mode, from what I remember, I don't think it was very good. It was probably bad enough that I tried it once and never wanted to do it again, and that's why I can't remember. Smash Bros. For Wii U was also crazy because it introduced 8-player Smash, which is always so much fun to bust out at parties and stuff. And if that wasn't enough, just like Mario Kart 8, Smash Bros. For Wii U had downloadable content. And I'm of course talking about Mii Fighter costumes, heck yeah. No, there were more characters introduced after Smash Bros. For Wii U was released. We got some returning characters like Mewtwo and Lucas, but we also got some brand new characters, especially crossover characters like Bayonetta and Ryu from Street Fighter. It was really awesome to have this growing roster of characters for Smash Bros. And I think this really gave us a taste of the monstrosity that would become Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. While I honestly don't think there's much reason to come back to it now with Smash Bros. Ultimate, at the time this was just an incredible Smash Bros. Game. In Super Mario 3D World, you had these mini levels featuring the Captain Toad character. And after the big fiasco of people complaining about not getting a classic 3D Mario game for the Wii U, Nintendo finally decided to give the fans what they wanted. On December 5th, 2014, Nintendo released Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, a full game packed to the brim with these mini Captain Toad puzzle levels. To this day, I still honestly don't know how I feel about this game. On one hand, I really love Toad, especially in the Captain flavor, but also the fact that these were originally just like mini games in 3D World, it kind of feels cheap that it was forced to be a full game. In any case, you go through these levels as Captain Toad. You can't jump, so you have to find ways to traverse around the enemies and all the little platforming. And since this is based off of Super Mario 3D World, which already looked great in HD, of course the graphics in this game look really great. It also introduces some gimmicks with the gamepad. Sometimes you have to use the gamepad to control where you're shooting projectiles. Sometimes you use the gamepad to turn different objects. And for the most part, it works pretty well. I mean, it definitely works better than the Nintendo Switch version. But overall, I mean, this was a cute game. Once again, I don't know if this would be like a system seller, but it was just a cute and fun little experience to close out 2014. So in 2014, we got a new Donkey Kong Country game, a new Mario Kart, and a new Smash Bros. I wonder what could be next. Yikes. First off, on February 20, 2015, Nintendo released Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. Right off the bat, I loved this game's art style. I'm such a sucker for these stylized, craft-like graphics, so this game seemed like a no-brainer for me. That was until I actually played the game. I don't know if I'm just in the minority, but I was honestly never a big fan of these kinds of games. You see, Nintendo used to release games on the DS that would make use of the system's features, such as the touchscreen. That's how we got Kirby canvas curse, which made the player draw lines to control Kirby. And it's the same idea here. You just draw lines on the gamepad to control Kirby. Now I have nothing wrong with anybody who did enjoy this game, but for me, playing this game on the gamepad just did not feel intuitive to me at all. In the end, I honestly just couldn't really get into it. And so, my search for a 2015 Wii U game continues. What the heck is this? On March 20, 2015, Mario Party 10 was released. After Mario Party 9 introduced the car mechanic, which forced everyone to move around the board at the same time, I think we all thought, okay, that was an interesting experiment, but I can't wait for some classic Mario Party again. Nope. Mario Party 10 brought the car back again, now in HD. There's something about the car that just feels so clunky and boring. Rather than fighting your own battles and trying to screw each other over, now it just feels like you're all playing against the game itself. However, if you didn't like regular Mario Party, you did also have a new game mode called Bowser Party. This was a 5-player game mode where 4 players ride in the car, and 1 player plays as Bowser chasing the players in the car. On paper, it does actually seem really interesting and unique. That is, until you realize that there are only a handful of minigames, which end up repeating quite often. I'm sure you can probably get some kind of enjoyment out of Mario Party 10, but oh my god, I think this is probably the lowest point of the Mario Party series. So not gonna lie, 2015 is off to a pretty bad start. But then on May 29th, 2015, there was a glimmer of hope when Nintendo released Splatoon, the first new IP from Nintendo in quite some time. Splatoon was revealed at E3 2014, and it showed off this really interesting type of gameplay. For the first time, Nintendo would be diving deep into the third-person shooter genre, and they were literally diving because this game is based on squids. The overall concept is really simple. Just get as much of your ink on the map as possible. However, once you start looking deeper into the gameplay, there's actually a lot more to this. The fact that you're a squid means that you can hide in the ink. You travel faster while you're swimming than if you just walk on the ink. I mean, overall, this just felt like a very Nintendo-like approach to a third-person shooter. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw that this was Nintendo's brand new IP for the Wii U, I was a bit skeptical and a bit worried. I felt like there was a big chance that this game could just be a giant flop. And that's another fish pun. But you know, introducing something brand new on this console that at this point is pretty much confirmed to not be a success, I think it was quite risky. But luckily, Splatoon as a series is now a runaway success, and it's really interesting to look back to where it all started. For the most part, all of the Splatoon games pretty much have the same basic premise. However, Splatoon 1 does have that unique added element of the gamepad, and it's used pretty much exactly how you would expect. You have the minimap on there, you can jump to your players by tapping on the minimap. It pretty much takes out the whole overlay menu that is now on the Switch Splatoon games, and just throws it on the gamepad, which, I mean, you know, can be really nice actually. However, I will say that Splatoon 1 does have a unique feature with the gamepad that none of the other Splatoon games have been able to replicate, and that is actual local multiplayer. Granted, it is a much stripped down version of Splatoon, but hey, I always thought Splatoon would make for a nice local game, and with the Wii U version, one player plays on the TV while the other player plays on the gamepad. Similar to Call of Duty Black Ops 2, you pretty much just give the gamepad to your annoying friend that you just want to beat at Splatoon. But I mean, hey, the fact that there's local multiplayer in Splatoon I thought was really cool. I wish they would somehow bring that back for future Splatoon games. But for the most part, I thought Splatoon was just very fun and interesting. It was a completely new idea from Nintendo, and I consider myself one of the lucky few that actually got to see where Splatoon started on the Wii U. Then, on September 11th, 2015, we got Super Mario Maker on the Wii U. So this was an interesting game, especially after we got new Super Mario Bros. U when the Wii U first came out. As the title suggests, this game allows you to create your own Mario levels. You can save your creations and share them online for other people to play. Unfortunately, on March 31st, 2021, Nintendo discontinued support for uploading your courses, so to the one person who waited 7 years to get Super Mario Maker, I'm sorry. Anyway, I have to admit that any of these games that require you to create your own levels, it's not really my jam. I just don't think I'm very good at creative design or anything like that. So honestly, I don't think I even created any levels in Super Mario Maker. But what I can say is that the fact that this game used the Wii U gamepad, It felt like the perfect match. Finally, this giant tablet controller with a stylus felt like it had a purpose. And especially when you compare it to the Switch version, using the Wii U gamepad to create your levels is infinitely better than trying to use a controller. While I'm terrible at it, I think the whole creation aspect of this game is really cool, especially the fact that you can instantly change between all of these different games. I think people who actually have creativity had a field day with this game. And it really showed, because the most fun I got out of this game was playing all of the levels online. Just seeing all of the creativity from people all around the world, it was so cool. Granted, you did have some just awful levels, but I mean, hey, whether they were challenging, cute, or just all around fun, I think the creativity people offered with this game was really great. While Super Mario Maker honestly didn't appeal too much to me, I'm glad that it did resonate with some people. And the final Wii U game I picked up for 2015 was Yoshi's Woolly World. I pretty much knew as soon as they revealed this game at E3 2014 that it was going to be an instant buy for me. So Yoshi's Woolly World is pretty much everything you would expect. It's a 2D side-scroller Yoshi game where everything is made out of yarn and cloth. It's essentially a spiritual successor to Kirby's Epic Yarn, and it shows. I mean, I don't know what else I can really say about this game. It's just so cute seeing the art style like this. Yoshi is just cute as a character. You can play through this game with 2-player co-op, which is cool. Couldn't be me though. And just seeing all of these Yoshi characters made of yarn, it was so cool. I love it. Although the Yoshi games have now become very notorious for being too easy, I don't know, for the art style, I felt like the difficulty kind of matched for this game, but I can understand why people had that critique with Yoshi's Woolly World. There was also some amiibo compatibility, where if you scanned in an amiibo, Yoshi would basically turn into that character. Super duper cute, I love it. And speaking of which, something that I super duper love are the Yarn Yoshi amiibo. These are my favorite amiibo ever. The fact that they made these amiibo for this game is just incredible. So if anything, these amiibo were the highlight of the year for me. Oh boy, this is where we get into some sad times for the Wii U. It was around 2016 when we first started hearing about Nintendo's next console. Yes, literally 4 years into the lifespan of the Wii U. Codenamed NX, at this point people were already starting to look past the Wii U. So 2016 was a pretty lackluster year for the Wii U, especially for me. And I think it really shows because I only have one Wii U game to talk about for this year. On October 7th, 2016, Nintendo released Paper Mario Color Splash, the latest entry in the Paper Mario series. So similar to Zelda games, I just never have had the brain power or attention span to play a lot of RPGs, and honestly, Paper Mario was one of them. I definitely appreciated the aesthetic of the Paper Mario games, but I could honestly just never bring myself to play it. However, the fact that the Wii U was on life support at this point, I felt like I owed it to myself to give this new Paper Mario game a proper shot. I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding the Paper Mario series as a whole, but I went into Color Splash with the intention of finishing it, and I mean, hey, I guess it must mean something that this was the first Paper Mario game that I could actually finish all the way through. The game follows Mario along with his new pal Huey, and sort of the gimmick in this game is that since Huey is a paint can, you can use your hammer to like paint different blank objects throughout the game. There's quite a lot of humor in this game, which is always really fun to see. I think the Paper Mario games do a great job at including some humor and charm into the story. However, I think where this game starts to fall apart is with its gimmick. In these turn-based battles, you're supposed to collect cards, and then you use the Wii U gamepad to select these different card attacks. And I'm not gonna lie, it's just straight up annoying. You're constantly having to look down at the gamepad, then look back up at the TV. It's just not a fun time having to go back and forth between the gamepad and the TV. Also, this game has some very lackluster characters. For example, there's the battle where we have to fight everybody's favorite character, Steak. I will say that Color Splash was a good enough time where it actually got me to finish the game all the way through. I think any game that is able to capture my attention span, that's a good accomplishment. I could see why people had a problem with this game. For me personally, I mean, it was fine. It was just a decent RPG with some fun Mario elements. And that is the only game I bought for the Wii U this entire year. I mean, that's not to say that there weren't games released for the Wii U this year. However, with the games that were released, I think the writing was on the wall that the Wii U was coming to its end. We had Twilight Princess HD, which I mean, hey, I can't really speak too much about because I've never actually played that game. I don't think the visuals really lend itself to HD the same way that Wind Waker did. But I mean, hey, from what I've heard, this is like a solid remake, so that's fine. I mean, I guess we technically got 2 Zelda games on the Wii U so far. But there was also Star Fox Zero and Star Fox Guard. These games are pretty notorious for just not being a good time. Apparently, the way that Star Fox Zero incorporates the gamepad just makes it very not enjoyable. And listen, although we all know that good graphics does not equal a good game, Star Fox Zero just had some of the saddest looking graphics I've seen on the Wii U. It looked like a GameCube game, which honestly made me even less willing to give this game a shot. And then we also had Mighty No. 9. Do I need to say anything more? So yeah, 2016 was honestly a sad time to be a Wii U owner. I do honestly remember being pretty upset with the fact that I had this Wii U in my hand. Like, what was I doing with my life? And now we come to 2017, which in my opinion was the final goodbye to the Wii U. On March 3rd, 2017, Nintendo released the highly anticipated The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, alongside their brand new console, the Nintendo Switch. It's really crazy to think that Breath of the Wild was basically Nintendo's final hoorah for the Wii U. After that brief Zelda gameplay during the Wii U reveal trailer, I know that many people bought the Wii U just for a new Zelda game. Now, Breath of the Wild is actually a Wii U game that I did not buy. I mean, I had already moved on to the Switch. But from what I've seen around the internet, the Wii U version of Breath of the Wild isn't really anything special. Besides requiring way more updates than you would expect, the biggest difference between the Wii U and Switch versions of Breath of the Wild comes down to the button layout in the menus. Unfortunately, they pulled a Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on us and just completely disregarded any use of the gamepad functionalities. Even if they had just thrown in being able to use the gamepad as a map, I would say that the Wii U version is the definitive version. But no, this is basically just the Switch version running on a disc. At the end of the day, Breath of the Wild made for a great launch for the Switch and a nice goodbye for the Wii U. Looking back at the Wii U's lifespan, I think it's easy for us to crack jokes about how it all went down. I know that there is a very dedicated Wii U fan base, but unfortunately, the numbers speak for themselves. And although even I had my fair share of poking fun at the Wii U, I think it's pretty commendable what Nintendo was able to pull off with this console. In the peak of the console wars, mainly between Xbox and PlayStation, Nintendo was able to come out with something completely unique, unifying, and maybe even utopian.
Unique, unifying, maybe even utopian?
And I think pretty early on it was clear that the Wii U was going to be an uphill battle for Nintendo. Between games being harder to develop for the Wii U because of the gamepad, Nintendo themselves having to develop games in HD for the first time, I feel like Nintendo had a lot going against them this generation, which is really unfortunate. And while the Wii U was far from as successful as we all hoped it would be, I think Nintendo did a good job at supporting this console throughout its lifespan. We still got some super high quality games like Mario Kart 8, Splatoon, and Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, just to name a few. I think in some alternate universe the Wii U could have actually succeeded. But for now, I guess we're just looking onward to better things with the Nintendo Switch. Feel free to let me know in the comments what are some of your guys' favorite memories from the Wii U generation. If you guys want to see my previous review video of the Wii U, feel free to check it out below. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Chase, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye.